For those that are new, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on all notifications to be notified whenever a brand new video is posted onto this channel. Thank you all so much for your continued support. Now let's begin. With Thanos obtaining all 6 of the Infinity Stones and by the end of the Avengers Infinity War doing exactly what he set out to do from the beginning in bringing balance to the universe, many fans within the Marvel community who have never read the comics are curious as to what exactly happened to Thanos by the end of the Avengers Infinity War movie. Now, by the end of the Avengers Infinity War movie, we come to the understanding for those that have read the comics that Thanos is now at peace. But for those who have never read the comics are wondering as to what Thanos is doing staring out in the distance and watching the sunrise. Now, in Avengers Infinity War, Thanos had told Doctor Strange that once he gets all the stones, easily within the snap of his finger, he can bring balance to the universe. And what is this balance? The balance is wiping out half of the life within the universe in order for resources not to be finite anymore, but for there to be equilibrium and balance for everyone out there living in the existing universe while the other half has been wiped out. Now, as we reference back and going to the comics, in the beginning of the Infinity Gauntlet comic version, the epilogue actually showcases Thanos, who just so happened to have been banished by Adam Warlock and is now referred to as Farmer Thanos, as he's living peacefully on a farmland. Now, this is quite different than what we saw in Avengers Infinity War, because by the end of Avengers Infinity War, Thanos is sitting there with a smug look on his face, smiling because he knows that he had went out there and completed the mission that he was sent out to do in bringing balance to the universe. Although it's very subjective, that was his goal the entire time. As he told Gamora before sacrificing her for the Soul Stone, he ignored his destiny once. He will not do so anymore. He will not wait any longer. He will do whatever he needs to do in order to bring balance to the universe by any means necessary. And by the end, we see how the Infinity Gauntlet is beginning to crumble as a result of not only overusing the stones, but also taking the hit of Stormbreaker via Thor before leaving the scene. Now, we come to the understanding that this is Farmer Thanos as we saw in the comic variation. Although they're taking a different approach, what we saw by the end of Avengers Infinity War does reference and going back to Farmer Thanos from the comics. The only difference here is Adam Warlock will not be in the Avengers movies, except now he will be featured in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Now, with that being said, Adam Warlock will not be featured and thus not having a prominent role in getting rid of Thanos, but of course referencing back to the comic variation of when Thanos was finally at peace. So although he is finally at peace, Thanos had won the battle, but the war is still ongoing. We still have the remaining core of the Avengers left, and what's interesting about this is if you guys go back to my previous video explaining the origin of Thanos going into the Soul Realm by the end of Avengers Infinity War, it kind of captivates and tells you what they're going to do in the upcoming film involving at least Gamora's character, not so much the others, because the directors and producers have already confirmed that some of the other characters that have been killed off may never return. Gamora may not be one of them. She in fact may return, of course, for Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but for now that remains to be seen. We have Ant-Man and Wasp and of course Captain Marvel dropping before Avengers 4 is released. Now, we also understand that since Thanos had completed his mission, what's left for him to do? Of course, just because he had wiped out half of the life in the universe doesn't mean that his mission stops here. And the reason for that is because there are versions of the comics where Thanos goes out of his way to fight the Celestials, the One Above All, Galactus, the Living Tribunal. Of course, that may not be the direction in which they want to take Thanos in, because they could do one of many different things, killing him off, imprisoning him, anything can happen. But as of right now, he is resting, knowing the fact that he had won the battle in wiping out half of the Avengers. But now the question is, how do we go back in time? How do we reverse time and bring some of these characters back for the be-all end-all battle against Thanos on this unknown planet? Now again, even though the location seems like it was shot in the Philippines, this planet that he may be on may in fact be somewhere else. It may not be Earth. We don't know 100% fully as to where he is, but we see him sitting there, as he told Doctor Strange, watching the sunrise over a forgiving and balanced universe as he originally intended. Now, as we go forward in the Marvel MCU, we don't know what the future is going to hold for the Thanos character in the future for Avengers 5, Avengers 6, Avengers 7, because they do have that plan for the foreseeable future. Now, Thanos may not be involved in those movies. However, anything goes, as we see in the comics when Death resurrected Thanos and various other versions of Thanos actually came about, with Thanos having to be killed, being in prison. so anything can happen. But going forward in this film, as we carry on into the Avengers 4, we come to the understanding that there will be time travel, and of course most characters will be brought back. But how will that be useful against Thanos, who now has all of the Infinity Stones? So in case you guys were wondering, that was the ending of Thanos. That was the ending explained for him having to be there essentially, in reminiscing in what he had done and sacrificing Gamora, but at the same time, due to her expense, bringing absolute balance to the universe. Even though it is subjective, that's Thanos' morality. That's his moral point of view in wiping out all life in order for him to be happy. Now, in terms of the Infinity Gauntlet itself, by the end of the film, we see how the gauntlet seems to be burned and dematerializing and breaking down. However, we don't see him hold on to it by the very end as he sits down, but we do know that he has it. Now, the thing is, if you guys remember back when Thor went to the very place where he needed to make his new axe, we saw how Rocket Raccoon had pointed out to Thor and asking him if Thanos had an Infinity Gauntlet and if it resembled the exact same one they both saw at that very location. So in fact, that very same Infinity Gauntlet may be the only Infinity Gauntlet left that could be put to use in wielding the Infinity Stones, due to the fact that this one that Thanos currently has is breaking down and it's burning. We saw it on fire by the very end, so we're not entirely sure if that gauntlet is going to have any sort of negative effect on the stones, if Thanos is going to be uncontrollable of his power now that he has all the stones, because the gauntlet looks like it's breaking down. So there's no word yet as to if Thanos is going to have full access to the Infinity Stones as we go into Avengers 4. Now, Avengers 4 is going to be a huge point in what's going to happen after the Marvel Phase 4 MCU universe plans, because of course they're planning on introducing brand new superheroes, possibly even brand new Avengers. So most of the characters that we saw be killed off at Infinity War may stay dead. Of course, some of them possibly having to be Loki, perhaps possibly having to be Falcon. Of course, Black Panther and Spider-Man are not going to be killed off permanently, because there is a Black Panther sequel and there is another Spider-Man movie in the works. So those characters you don't have to worry about. However, it's some of the other characters that we saw in the film, such as perhaps Drax, Star-Lord, Groot, and characters of that nature that we may not see come back. As I just pointed out, Loki, many of the other sub-heroes that we saw, and maybe even the Nova Corps from Xandar that we haven't seen yet, but was very well established in the beginning of Infinity War, that Thanos had went over there to obtain the Power Stone a week prior to encountering Thor and wiping out possibly the entire civilization, let alone half alone. So the ending of this movie, Thanos is at peace. There is no Adam Warlock. If Adam Warlock were to be introduced, that is such a crucial point to the story, because Adam Warlock was one of the only ones, hence the word one of the only ones, to give Thanos the run of his life, the run for his money that he so desperately wants. And that's seeing Adam Warlock not only remove the Infinity Gauntlet from Thanos' possession, but also banishing him to an unknown planet in which Thanos ultimately becomes Farmer Thanos. Now, also in the comics, we see how Thanos takes off his armor and he puts it on a scarecrow. Now, some people are calling this a hit or a miss, but perhaps it looks like Thanos had done the exact same thing at the end of Avengers Infinity War in placing his armor on a scarecrow. So that's a homage going back to the comics, the beginning of the Infinity Gauntlet comic. In the epilogue, when we saw Thanos pretty much at peace with what he had done, but of course as an end result being banished by Adam Warlock during that time. So let me know your thoughts down below, guys, as to what your overall thoughts are on Thanos using the Infinity Gauntlet once more, even though it looks broken down, and it looks like it's currently breaking down based on the fight with Thor and everything that's happened with all of the stones having to be gathered. What are your overall thoughts on the potential introduction of Adam Warlock, at least by the end of Avengers 4, and who do you guys believe is going to be killed off going into Avengers 4 permanently? Is it going to be Nick Fury? Is it going to be perhaps some of the other characters we saw? Perhaps maybe even Falcon or Winter Soldier, even though I really doubt that Winter Soldier is going to fade away and disappear forever, because of course there are more Captain America movies to come, and even the potential of a Civil War sequel, as we do know that there is a Civil War 2 adaptation for the comics. Who knows what they might go from here? But of course, for Thanos, his mission's complete. He told Doctor Strange everything, and Doctor Strange knew that out of 14,605 outcomes, there was only one way to win. So perhaps this was the vision that Doctor Strange had in foreseeing the other 14 million possibilities, and this having to be the only one. Perhaps Thanos needed to win in order for there to be some sort of justification for the Avengers to pursue Thanos in defeating him in the end. Let me know your thoughts down below, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. If of course you guys are new to this channel, hit that subscribe button, guys. Turn on all notifications. Tune back in for more. If you guys are excited and ready for the Avengers 4, slap a like down below, and I'll be seeing each and every single one of you guys in the next Avengers video. Take it easy, everybody. Peace.